All right, so next problem here, and the first thing as always is reading the question sentence. What is the total budget after the credit? Okay, one more time. So we want to know what the total budget is, but I'm going to make sure we highlight this after the credit. So that's definitely a condition of the problem, definitely something we want to pay attention to. So with that said, again, what is the total budget after the credit? Let's figure out what that budget is, and then let's figure out what the credit is, and what does it sound like we're going to do with a credit that's going towards a budget. Yeah, that's going to be subtraction. Absolutely. Because if we're talking about how much something is going to cost, and then we incorporate a credit into it, you're crediting towards that cost. So that means you are going to pay less. So just keep that in mind as we bring the information together and see what we can do about that. So here we are. An event budget includes 3 speaker fees at $120 each, $140 stage rental, $150 sponsor credit, and $45 for printing. So it was a little sneaky there, right? A little sneaky, but there it is. There is that credit. Let me go ahead and highlight that. And then we also have everything else. 3 speaker fees at $120 a piece. So that will be 3 times 120. We have $140 stage rental fee, which is going to be another add-on. So $140 just being added on. And then that credit is what we will take away. And then don't forget it. Very easy to get it mixed up. We have $45 for printing. So we will incorporate that as well. That will be added on top because, again, that is towards that budget. So there we are. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 operations here. We're going to be multiplying, then adding, and subtracting, and then adding again. But we can probably do a little bit of mental math here to kind of work our way through this a little easier. And I'll show you that in a moment. So first and foremost, everybody, when we perform 3 multiplied by 120, what is that going to give us? 3 times 120, that's going to give us 360. Right on. Now from there, let's take a look at this. We have $140 minus 150 plus 45. If you wanted to look at this in a much neater way for mental math purposes, you can actually hook together the plus 45 and the plus 140, because that'll get us to what? 140 plus 45 is 185. Everybody, if we think about it like that, and then we subtract the 150, what's the difference? What is 185 minus the 150? What is that going to give us? A clean 35, right? That is a clean 35 that we know that we are adding on. We are adding that to the end because we had a positive 185. We subtracted 150 and it remained positive. So we are adding this back on to the end. So with that, my party people, what are we adding it on to? That 360 right here. 360 plus 35. What does that end up at? 395 right there. 395, and that is the budget. After we took care of the $150 sponsor credit, boom, we got our budget down to $395, which is going to be answer choice A. And there we are, my party people. There we are. Again, the correct answer is A. All right, new question. So as always, the first thing we do is read that question first. So this one's a little more wordy, but it's okay. So after mailing 41 letters, 1 stamp each, how many stamps remain? So what I want to first point out is the information that you see in the first half of that sentence, after mailing 41 letters, each being 1 stamp, this is just conditional information. This is information that you may or may not use towards solving the problem. The real question, everyone, is how many stamps remain? My party people, my friends, when we think about keywords, what's a keyword that we should highlight in this red highlight? What is a word that we should absolutely underline here? Yeah, remain. Because the word remain really tells us how many are left, right? How many are left? So, boom, right there. How many stamps remain? Okay, cool. So now that we're thinking about stamps and the amount that remain, or subtracting, or the gap, let's read through the context here, the story, and again, we're going to make the plan to connect the information we have and the information we want. That's what it's all about. So here we go. A person has 3 sheets of 20 stamps and a booklet of 12 stamps. Okay, a lot of numbers, but just take it one at a time here. A person has 3 sheets of 20 stamps. My party people, when the word of is by itself, not out of, when we just have the word of, what operation does that kind of sound like? Yeah, that's multiplication. Again, the word of by itself is multiplication. Out of, as a phrase, that is division. So in this first little particular piece here, 3 sheets of 20 stamps, you can multiply to figure out how many stamps that is. So let's write that over here. 3 sheets of 20 stamps. We can multiply that together to get the number of stamps that is. And then it says, and a booklet of 12 stamps. So I can highlight that as well. So let's just change colors ever so slightly to purple. And we'll say a booklet of 12 stamps. So a booklet. And that is, again, 12 stamps. Everybody, if we're thinking about how we mix that in, is that going to be addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, when we're trying to figure out how many total stamps we have at the end? Yeah, that's addition. That is addition. So right over here, let's put plus. And then up next, in the next sentence, it says, after mailing 41 letters, again, each of them 1 stamp, so 41 letters is 41 stamps. What are we doing with the 41? What does it mean in terms of how many remain if we're mailing some of these stamps away? Yeah, that's subtraction. That is subtraction. I'll highlight that there in green. We have mailed 41 letters. We have mailed 41 letters. And that means, again, that we will subtract this. So when we think about the order in which the story is being told, everybody, we can see here that we are going to multiply the 3 times 20. That's going to give us 60 total stamps. We also have that booklet with 12 stamps, so we'll add that on. And then with all those stamps that we have, we're going to subtract 41 because we mailed 41 stamps away. So knowing this order, boom, let's go ahead and get into it. 3 times 20, that is 60 stamps. From here, we are going to add 12 stamps, and that's going to give us 60 plus 12, which is 72 stamps. And then lastly, we've mailed 41, so we'll go ahead and subtract 41. So 72 minus 41, and that's going to give us a remaining 31 stamps. And there it is, my party people. There we are. Hopefully we're feeling pretty good about this one. Even if we didn't get it correct, hopefully we feel good about the solution. But there we go. The correct answer here is 31 stamps. Answer choice C.